Good afternoon, friends. It's Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead, and I'm coming to you. By the time this video comes out, I'm officially full term with this pregnancy, and we are on baby watch. I am struggling. As you can see, I'm about as big as a house and struggling just to get the most basic house chores done and caring for my children, but we are making it work. You know, this isn't my first rodeo. This is baby number 8, and so I'm just having to figure out how to balance resting with getting work done. It seems like I can do about 45 minutes to an hour of work, and then my back needs a rest, and I have to lay down for about just as long. But we're getting it done, and pretty soon here, baby will be here, and it will all be worth it. So, as I mentioned, it's hard to get a lot accomplished, but I'm going to show you what we did accomplish this week. Besides the schoolwork that you see getting done here, I was able to do one little food preservation project. I'm going to show you how I canned some kale this week. And then mostly I'm just tying up the last bit of nesting projects that I really felt like I needed to get done, the home organization projects, to be ready to have this baby. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to give you a full pantry tour, and we're going to do an Azure standard haul. But let's start with the garden. We had our first bit of snowfall in Ohio this week. Nothing significant, but there were several days where it dropped down to 20 degrees and we had a little bit of precipitation. And so I saw my kale. The last thing that's alive out here in the garden is this kale. And I thought I was going to harvest some of it and finally do something with this. Now, kale is cold hardy enough that it will survive in temperatures down in the single digits. So I left some of it to use for fresh eating here throughout the winter. But otherwise, the majority of it I decided it was time to bring inside and preserve. So this is what we were left with, this big bowl of beautiful kale. So today I'm going to can this. You may be wondering, why can the kale when you could freeze it or do, lots of other things with it? I could freeze dry it, and I have freeze dried tons of batches of kale over the summer, and I have jars and jars of kale powder to use for smoothies and other things. But I haven't canned any kale. And kale is one of those items where there's kind of mixed feelings about it. Some people think that it's not good to eat raw, and that it's better to eat cooked. And my husband is actually one of those people. He prefers his greens like spinach and kale to be cooked. And so canning is a process that cooks it, and then we have it shelf stable so that he can just literally eat it out of the jar. He likes to eat his greens that way. I will link this little tool that I'm using in the description of this video, but basically it was this de-stemming tool, and I'm just removing the stems from the kale. And then I've got some water over here boiling to steam the kale once it's off of the stems. We need it to get soft and wilty so that we can stuff it into our jars. But as always, nothing here is going to go to waste. Those stems are perfect for stir fry. I like to cut them up into little pieces and freeze them, and then whenever I make stir fry in the winter, I add a handful of these kale stems to the mix, and the frying process just softens them up perfectly. There's still a little bit of crunch, and I just think they're a great addition. So don't waste those stems. You can repurpose them. Just freeze them raw as is. There we go. Our kale is getting nice and soft. I've got some pint jars here, and we're going to work on stuffing them full of the kale. You can see here the benefit of steaming that kale first, because it gets so soft that you can really pack the greens in there pretty tightly. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get these packed as tightly as possible. All of that kale only made me 4 little pints, but you know what? It's 4 pints more than I had at the beginning of the day, and every bit counts. So on top of the kale, we are adding some hot boiling water, and then just making sure we get the air bubbles out from where I packed the kale in. And then I want to leave an inch headspace on these jars. This will be 4 little snacks for Adam this winter. Like I said, he just likes to eat greens cooked right out of the jar. And so he will be very happy to have these on the pantry shelves. Once our air bubbles are all removed, we're going to get our lids on. And you guys know I love my 4 jars canning lids, and actually they are having a Black Friday sale this week. If you use my code with the sale they're having, you can get 40% off of your lids. So make sure you check that out. It's a great time to stock up for next year's canning season. And there we go. We've got our 4 pints here, and they are going to process for 70 minutes in the pressure canner. And that's what it looks like after they're all done being pressure canned. Add those to the pantry shelves. So this week, Adam and I, we know the baby's coming soon, and we know it's going to be a while before we can get away all alone. In fact, we rarely get to get away and have date nights all on our own. We're just at a season of life where we have to, after the kids go to bed, find time to be alone, and just be together here in the house. And so on this night, we were working on making some capsules, some supplements for Adam out of some organ meat. And we're just listening to a podcast while we work and chat. And, it's nothing fancy. It isn't going out to dinner and a movie or anything like that, but it's time together. And that's, what matters. We just have to carve out these moments. It's really hard with a lot of children and a very busy life, but somehow we find the time, and that's just what you have to do. Our 16th wedding anniversary is coming up in a little over a week, and so we are planning to get away on that night and have a sitter for the children. But in the meantime, we're just making these little moments count. So working on getting these supplements all ready for Adam. The next big job that I needed to do this week was tackle the kitchen. Our kitchen, as you guys know, is a very busy area of our house. Every day we're usually working on some kind of preservation project. We're cooking 3 meals a day from scratch. David's doing a lot of baking, and so it gets very cluttered and messy. And so this was like the last job that was kind of lingering over me that I knew needed to be done before I could give birth and feel good about giving birth in this house. And that was tackling the kitchen mess. So I took one day this week and I just cleaned everything. Deep cleaned, pulled things off of the shelves, pulled things out of the cupboards, and we just got everything sanitized and perfectly organized, and it felt amazing, you guys. Well, it felt amazing mentally. It did not feel so good physically. I will tell you that at, this point in the pregnancy, cleaning and getting up and down and things like this, you definitely do pay a price for that amount of activity. And I will say that the day after I did all this work, I was pretty much worthless and ended up spending most of that day lying down and doing school lessons from the couch. But it was worth it to get this last lingering task done. I felt like I really couldn't give birth without getting the kitchen cleaned up, because it was a long fall of doing harvest work and canning, and the little dirty jobs kind of accumulated a mess that just needed to be tackled now that we're kind of putting that behind us and there's no more. As you guys know, these shelves right here basically contain all of our dried goods storage and most of our canned foods that we have preserved throughout the year. And so I just needed to get everything organized, and I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. So there it is. Remember, once our cellar project is done here in early spring, all of this will be moved downstairs. But for now, this lives in our kitchen, and this is what I make my meals from every day. I often get questions about what I keep in these big 5-gallon buckets, so I'll go ahead and talk about that. So that's where our bulk dried goods are contained, in the big 5-gallon buckets. I have one that's full of hard wheat berries. That's what we use for baking bread. I have one that's full of soft wheat berries, and that's what we use for other baked goods like pastries and muffins and things like that. We have oats. What else do I keep in there? Beans, dried beans, salt, sugar. We keep buckwheat, a big 5-gallon bucket of popcorn, dried corn. I think that's about it. Oh, split peas. I have one bucket of split peas. And so anything that we buy in bulk quantities is just kept right there, and we just cycle through that. And as the buckets get low, I place another Azure order and we refill them. My freeze dryer here unfortunately has to live in the kitchen at this point in time until we get the cellar fixed and I can move it down there. And it's actually kind of convenient having it on this rolling cart and having it in my kitchen space where I can keep an eye on it. I find that I use it a lot more because it's there and I see it. I think if it were tucked away in a hidden part of the house, I might forget to use it as much. But after a month of constant use, this whole thing needed cleaned out. And so we just pulled it all apart, got everything wiped out and sanitized, and then we can kind of store it up. I'll still be doing some freeze drying throughout the winter, but definitely not on a daily basis as I would. And remember, now is the time in November to buy a freeze dryer if you were thinking of it. They have a great Black Friday sale, so check out the link in the description. Now is the time to wipe down this cute chalkboard, but look at this. Gracie drew this. There's David with his hat and his hair, Gabe with his little smirk, Adam with his spiky hair. I think I'm holding a baby there. It's so cute. 3 little boys peeking out from behind me, and then the 2 girls over there. It's such a cute drawing. It's been up there for quite a while, but since I was cleaning, it was time to wipe it down and the kids can draw something new. But I like having this little chalkboard in the kitchen. It's great. I think we're going to put a baby countdown up here soon so that we can see how many days we have left. All right, let me take you on a kitchen tour now that it's all cleaned up. So over here, I just keep I keep my essential oils. I've got random things that I need. Like this pulls the stinger out if one of the kids gets stung by a bee or something outside. I have my little tick removers that I keep up here, nail clippers, a little pair of scissors, just things like that that I need for little emergencies when the kids come in from playing. And then all of our aprons hang over here in this corner. Obviously, we have a lot of aprons. We do a lot of baking. And then some of my food storage sits here. Remember, that's temporary. That will be moving downstairs eventually. And then here we have more. I keep my little diaper bag there, more food storage, and then obviously the buckets that go all along the bottom there. Got more storage there. I've shown you everything that's in these jars in my last video. But then we also, this bucket down here, a local smoothie shop gives us all of their scraps from their juicer for our chickens. And so Adam brings a bucket home every night and we feed it to the chickens, and then I have to wash them out, and we kind of just keep them there until he can take it back to the smoothie shop the next day. So those what those white buckets are for. The freeze dryer, as I mentioned, sits right here until we can find a better space down in the cellar for it. I keep extra crock pots and my dehydrator on the bottom of this cart because that's the only place for them right now. And then on top here, I've got my sourdough starter. Here's all of our garlic that we harvested. We're still working through that, and I need to get the kids busy and have them help me peel all of this, and we can turn it into garlic powder or garlic salt. I'll puree some of it and freeze it into ice cubes for quick meals, and maybe we'll try to get to that here in the next couple weeks before the baby comes. But that's what's over here. Unfortunately, this year, due to space issues, we are keeping a coat rack right here in the back of the kitchen. That is where our town coats go. And then our mudroom is actually right off the kitchen here. This is where the work coats and the snow play coats go. Anything that's in the mudroom is going to end up obviously covered in mud because we live on a little farm, and with chores things can get a little messy. And so we always have to keep our town coats, the things that the kids will wear when they're going somewhere, in public. We keep those in a separate space. So I worked on getting that set up this week. And then there's the chalkboard that I had mentioned. The rest of the kitchen back here, we've got our water filter right here, and then just a little stand that it sits on. Got some onions underneath that. This cabinet right here is where I keep my bulk potatoes. Oh, Benji needed something. He wanted to show me his little guy, so he said hi. But anyways, this cabinet here, I'm going to show you when we pick up our Azure order how I store my potatoes here. They just need to be somewhere dark and kind of cool. And our kitchen stays pretty cool in the winter here. because it's kind of off on the back of the house and the wood stove definitely doesn't touch it. So it's a great place for food storage. I'm still working through organizing all of the cabinets. I'm not going to take you through all of those right now, but I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how I keep my kitchen organized. We have almost 10 people here living in about 1,600 square feet, so we just have to make do with the space we have, and that's it. All right, it's Azure Standard Pickup Day. Thankfully, David made donuts the night before because we had to be at our drop point to pick up our order at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's a little over an hour away. So it was an early morning for us, but we got there on time. We made it. We got the car all packed up, and now I'm going to show you everything that we got this month. Okay, we're back from our very early morning Azure trip, and let me show you what we got. So we got, let me see if this can come off, or if it, hold on a second. Okay, so we got yellow potatoes, because those were the best deal. These are organic potatoes. Each box is 50 pounds. So in total, I got 100 pounds of potatoes, and I'll show you how I'm going to store that here in a second. I also got 25 pounds of cane sugar. Our bucket is almost empty of sugar, so that'll get us refilled for a while. 25 pounds of organic rolled oats for quick breakfasts. We've got 5 pounds of black beans. 5 pounds of these dried cranberries. I like these because they are sweetened with apple juice instead of with sugar or corn syrup, like some of the like name brand craisins that you get in the store. All right, over here we got a case of coconut cream. My friend told me that she makes homemade whipped cream using coconut cream. And so I bought a whipped cream dispenser with the little, like cartridges that help you make whipped cream. I'm going to be experimenting with that. So I just wanted to get stocked up on the coconut cream if we like that, that whipped cream. Otherwise, I use these for lots of other things too. Just, since we can't have milk, this is what we use when we need a cream for a recipe. And then I got these 2 little packages of grapefruit, organic grapefruit. It was a better deal to buy 2 little packages than to get the big 10-pound package. So just a little treat for the kids for breakfast. We'll go through that'll probably be 3 breakfasts worth of grapefruit for us. Okay, and then I got 10 pounds of rice macaroni. This is that Tinkyata brand. It's my favorite brand of gluten-free pasta. And so this will keep us stocked up on macaroni noodles for a while. I also got 10 pounds of just regular spaghetti noodles. So we'll be good on that. Then I got 12 little packages of these Snowpack organic mixed vegetables. All the Snowpack frozen vegetables were on sale this month. I had ordered way more than this, and unfortunately they couldn't fulfill my order. So this is what came, but I got 12 packages of this. These are great for a quick soup or if we're making chicken pot pie. I just like to have those on hand for quick meals. And then I also got frozen organic strawberries because unfortunately our strawberries did terribly in our garden this year because I had moved them to a new location, a new bed, and the plants just were not happy with the move, so we weren't able to preserve any strawberries, and I just wanted to have some on hand for things like smoothies, just stuff like that. So that's my order. Oh, there's one other thing. Where did it go? Let me find it. Here it is. Got my favorite throat coat tea. This is what we use whenever the kids have a scratchy throat. This seems to really do the trick and make them feel better. So we made sure to get a box of that. All right, now I just need to get all of
So here's
this
that
put
cabinet that I showed
away.
you that's kind of emptied out, and it can fit about 100 pounds of potatoes here pretty perfectly. So we just stack the boxes one on top of the other. And as I mentioned, potatoes just need to be somewhere dark and relatively cool. If you have them somewhere where there's sunlight, it can start turning them kind of green. But with these potatoes down here, they will last until usually February or March before they start sprouting. And anything that does sprout, I will just plant in next year's garden. The next job is just going through our buckets down here and refilling them with the bulk grains that I've gotten. As you guys know, every January and February, I do a no-spend challenge, a pantry challenge, where I work on just using what we have in our storage to kind of cycle through it. And I do no grocery shopping during that time. And I plan on doing that pantry challenge again with you guys. And so right now, like this was my last big bulk order before I guess the challenge begins. We'll do some little orders with local grocery stores and things like that, but I'm pretty much set and I have enough food here that we can last through that pantry challenge without needing to go to the grocery store. And I've got some silly little boys that want some attention, so they wanted to say hi with their tongues, apparently. The hardest part for me of doing an Azure pickup is it is such a long drive for us, and then when we get home, I have to get everything put away because I find that if I don't do it right away, stuff will kind of sit over in the corner of the kitchen for a while and just add to the clutter of the house. So I really need to focus on getting it done as soon as we get home. And the kids are often all wound up because they've been in the car for a couple hours. And they're usually hungry by the time they get home too, but I always tell them, just let me get this stuff put away and then I'll make you lunch and then everything can kind of calm down. So just getting our bulk pasta here put away. This is an empty pretzel container from Sam's Club that had bulk pretzels in it, and it works perfectly for holding about 10 pounds of pasta. So that's what I use to store that. And all right, we did it, guys. We got it all put away. Now these little boys can have lunch. They are, like I said, all wound up and want to get out that energy from being in the car. But first we'll feed them, then we'll let them play for a while, and then it is nap time. Woohoo, Mom's favorite part of the day lately. I'm so tired by the middle of the day. All right, I wanted to update you guys on that freeze drying project from last week where I was freeze drying the mothers of vinegar. It turned out perfectly. They dried up just like I thought they would. Many of you asked if the freeze drying process kills the beneficial bacteria in the mother, and no, it doesn't. It's the same idea. People will dehydrate or freeze dry their sourdough starter, and it doesn't kill the bacteria in that. Same thing here. So this powder can be used as a supplement for our health, or it can be used to start future batches of vinegar. And so we're just going to get this up on the pantry shelf, and next time I want to make some vinegar, I will sprinkle that into the mix, and it will get that vinegar going more quickly. All right, guys, and that's about it. As I mentioned, there wasn't much exciting happening this week because I've been doing a lot of resting, and that's just what my body needs. I am about less than 2 months away from turning 42, and I'm pregnant with my 8th baby, so my body needs a lot of rest to prepare for labor and everything that's going to be happening in the coming months. So I'm going to get back to resting, and I will see you guys next week with another video. In the meantime, I hope you have a great week. I'll see you later, friends. Bye.